I'm excited to bring you guys a bunch of new tools today that are super effective and super useful. I didn't even know that it was possible to pack this many features into stuff. But you guys, when you see this thing here, you like it's actually blown my mind. I thought it was cool when I got it. I am now blown away that this isn't an industry standard. This is probably my favorite fish tape ever. It's got a ton of cool features. We'll get into it. All right, we'll get into it. If you don't already, go follow us on Instagram. There's a link in the description, and there will be a link to all of these tools in the description, as well as the shoppable videos from the YouTube platform. So check those out. And first up, we have this hole saw here. All right, so specifically with this tool, what I'm excited for is can lights. This is what I do the most of for stuff like this that I need like really random sizes. One thing to note when you're doing this is that these are reverse threads, so they don't unthread when you are drilling. So we're gonna go ahead and open it, which is righty-loosey here. But we're gonna go ahead and open it up. And of course, before we do this, because I'm gonna be moving it around, I'm gonna just thread this little end piece on so we don't lose the spring. The other good thing is that these blades do change out. There's some screws in here that you can change out the blades. It comes with one extra. You can also change out this bit. I love that because sometimes you get in some circumstances where this bit's not gonna cut it. You have to go through something else after. So that helps, I will say, tremendously. And finally, we're gonna put a cap on this. It will take a vacuum, right? It just comes with this little lock ring. It'll take a vacuum. I wanna see what it's like with this, just the cap on it. So now the hole that is for the vacuum's filled. It does come with an attachment specifically for the vacuum. All right, now if we take a look at this without any of the stuff on it, you guys can see the writing in this with this angle. Now on this little sheet, it tells you the amount of millimeters. It's 155 millimeters. So I actually put it right on 155 for both of these. Didn't have to measure or do anything crazy, but the markings on here makes it easy. And all of the retrofit kits come with one of these little sheets. And obviously it's gonna say it on the package as well. But let's go ahead and see what this is like. Now, if you know me, you know how much I love safety. So we're gonna need to put on our safety glasses here. They are going to protect us from probably just being kidnapped, probably not any debris. Let's go ahead and see what happens with this hole saw, baby. Are you guys excited? I'm excited. We're gonna do one without the base, see just what this is like. I've never used this before. So here is the piece that we cut out, and the hole, you guys can see, no issues with it. Now let's go ahead and see if our retrofit can will fit. And just like that, we have our can in there. Now, let's go ahead and try it with the actual thing on there. Much cleaner. That thing is amazing. I actually took the spring out of it because I found that it was easier to use without the spring, honestly. But that's a preference. Obviously, it's whatever is going to work best for you. That was a lot cleaner. I'll say not just with the dust, but I'm saying the hole as well. This is my second hole with this hole saw ever. Obviously, there's always getting used to a tool. It cut out pretty well. It was pretty easy. It was pretty fast, and no vacuum, no nothing. Lot less dust than on the first one, and a lot cleaner of a cut on this second hole. This just makes it really easy to have all of the sizes of hole saws that you need, all the way up to 10 inch. It's from, I believe, 2 to 10 inches, which is great. It's perfect, and it gives you all the weird little sizes that you don't really need very often in one thing, which is something that is absolutely needed. Overall, I have to say it works very well, cut very well. Getting used to it took a second. My second time around definitely went a lot smoother than my first, but it took some getting used to, some knowing the tools, which is going to happen for anything that you have, anything that you do. Next up, we're going to go through some wire tools. These are their cutters, their ratcheting cutters. Now, ratcheting cable cutters are pretty much a necessity if you're cutting big wire. These go all the way up to 600 copper. Okay, so we have some little aluminum here. We'll test them out. Obviously, they cut. We know that much. But the action on them is great. If you look here, you can see it here. There's a lock or an unlock portion of this, so you can lock it if you prefer, which keeps them closed. We'll go ahead and test these out real quick. Obviously, we know that it's not going to be all the way up there, so we'll push it down, start to get it started, and I will let you know. So we've made contact now. It's starting to get tight. And we'll just do a couple squeezes here. You'll see a couple strands probably start to fall off soon. Like butter, there was about zero effort put into that as far as from my end of things. And you can see there's still some stuff on the outside here. They're necessary if you're going to be cutting large cable. I know that you guys have probably all done the same thing that I have done when you didn't have the appropriate tool to cut, and you spent way too long and way too much effort using small handheld cable cutters. Ratcheting cable cutters are the only way to go. The handles on this are super ergonomic. There is a locking function on these. You can see it here. It's just this little knob. Basically, it will lock these shut. And if you pull this little lever down here, right here where my thumb is at, you can just press it on through whenever you need to open it up. But great little action here. Super easy cutting, you guys. It goes 600 copper, 750 aluminum. As far as hand tools go, this is the only hand tool that you're going to want to actually constantly cut copper or aluminum large cables with. Part number for this one is CST 900. This thing is an absolute beast. I've had something very similar. A couple different companies make this. This is a great one. It's fantastic. Now, I keep this with me everywhere I go, all right? Everywhere, because it's such an easy method to strip cables. Not only large cables like this, but also SO cord, which if you've stripped a bunch of SO cord, you know that it can be frustrating and difficult. This makes it fast. This makes it easy. So if you take a look here, you can see just the blade coming up through there, and you adjust that blade to be just the exact height with this red button down here of the insulation that's covering your wire. Now, what that will allow for you to do is it'll allow for you to just cut the insulation, which is all you want. So I've got it set up here now. It's the correct length. And so we're gonna put it in here. I'm gonna give it a couple spins, and then I'm gonna pull it out. And now, like, this is, I have not used this exact one here yet. First try, everything comes out, and it just peels. I mean, that's insane. How quickly, how easily, zero damage. It's very inexpensive as well, and it's very, very quick. Another tool that I love the style of, and I'm actually, this one's gonna be my new go-to. This is a 4-in-1 electronics screwdriver. It's a little tweaker. And the reason I like this one, I'm switching over. I have a Klein currently, and I'm replacing it with this because I like the way that this feels better. It's the same exact style and everything, like the blades. It's got a number 0 and a 00 Phillips and 2 small flatheads that nobody really knows the size of. But if you are curious, it's a 3/32 on one side, and on the other side, the flathead is an 1/8. But this thing helps me because I don't do a ton of low voltage stuff, but when I need it, I need it. And this is 4-in-1, so it's great. This one, it just has better ergonomics than the Klein, which is, I've been carrying that for years now. And I didn't know that there was a better option out there, but this one is a better option. I like this one. It's the SD41 from Jonard. And for those of you who are unaware how this 4-in-1 works, this comes out and both of these come out. There's one Phillips on each side and there's a flathead on each side. So you have 4 screwdrivers total, especially for those of you who are like me who don't do this stuff often, but enough that you need to keep one with you. This is the one. It does have a spinning cap so you can press it against something and turn with it still being pressed. It's harder with the smaller screwdrivers to really get a good hold on them. So that's why they do it. And it really truthfully does help. Next up, one of my favorites. It's such a unique tool. It's a cable tie gun. If you haven't seen these before, they come in very useful for setting tension. Now you can actually set the tension on this one. You can set it down here at this black piece here, and there's a number inside of the circle here. It's at 0 right now, and if we spin it a bunch of times, it'll go up and up and up and up and up. Thing that I like about this is that it cuts it off flush. So we've got it set to 1 currently as the tension. So we'll go ahead, we just slide it in there, we pull it, and it snaps it off clean, okay? There is no extra, there's nothing sharp, and it makes it so that it's safe for people to be around. If I bump my arm on this, I'm not cutting myself. Like, it cuts it flat, it's great. And it pulls it to the exact tension that you need. I did used to work with a guy who would not let you cut cables with anything other than a cable gun. And that is where I learned the value of a cable gun. Now, is that always necessary? No. At his factory, though, it was necessary because he was the boss. And now I have a cable gun probably solely because of him. He would be so proud of me. Still looking for his approval, apparently. This is fun. I love this. Also, in case you were wondering, if you put, this is the end here, if you put this in here alone, it will not cut it. It doesn't cut until it has the perfect tension. So if we pull it, there's nothing, but if we put enough tension on it, from there, it will actually cut. So it is purely about the tension, and once it reaches that certain point, it hits the drop and it cuts it. Next up, we're getting into the cable pulling, you guys. We got 3 left. This is the first of those. This is a drop ceiling cable funnel. Couple super cool things about this. It fits in the corner of drop ceilings, okay, and it pulls through. It does have an actual opening on this side, so your cables are not stuck. You can get them out whenever you'd like to. I work alone a ton, and so sometimes wire pulling can be a pain in my butt. And so being able to have something like this inside of the ceiling grid, so I can actually not be on a ladder trying to pull from all the way from the box, but I can be on the ground. This makes it much easier, much simpler, and sometimes it can save me a little bit of time and effort. This is the CPF 215, okay? It's a cable funnel for drop ceiling, and it's dope, and it works super well. It's really inexpensive. If you work in drop ceilings a lot, you're gonna wanna pick up something like this so you can have some sort of a pulley system. I always see this with low voltage stuff because obviously low voltage guys get to just run their stuff free up there. They don't have to use conduit or other wireways. They just run and roam, those random wild low voltage people. And the moment that you all have been waiting for, you guys, inside of this bag is one of the most effective ways to fish wire. Now we'll go ahead and open this up and I'll show you guys what all comes in this. It comes with a couple of very unique items that are gonna work very well for fishing wire through walls. Now typically this happens for your putting in outlets in walls that already exist. You drill through the top. So we're gonna go ahead and use the same wall. We'll be able to actually see where this is at and what it's doing. But we're gonna go ahead and throw this chain down, the 12-foot chain, down the hole. It will not fall all the way down. We're gonna have this obviously at the top. We're gonna have the little loop so it doesn't go through. That's why we keep our hole small with that measurement that they gave us that is losing, I can't remember right now. Now it will just drop through. Obviously we have a little bit different situation here because we actually have the wall available. But if you are up there in the attic right now, it does help to put a little bit of weight on the end of this. I've seen some people put like a nut on there or something, but basically it just drops through after you get actual weight going. And then once you're up there, you guys can see how that's sticking through so that it won't actually fall through. But one of the things that we really like about this particular part that's really cool with how flexible it is and how stiff at the same time is you can put a bend in it and you can put it inside the cavity, and then from there you can turn it and it reaches the outside of both, and then it's magnetic, so you guys can see it just pulls that in. It will not pull it out. They do give you this little hook grabber here for you to pull it out. Obviously it extends so you can get to more difficult situations and stuff like that. You will always have to pull the wire back up through. You will never be able to pull it through because of the end, unless you take that off. So I guess if you really needed to, you could. But this thing's sweet. It makes it super easy to actually find in the wall. This thing is one of my favorite new little tools. Typically I keep a little piece of Romex in there so I can have some solid wire in my bag so I can fish and do different stuff like that with it. This is so much better and so much more effective, so much more versatile and useful. Also, with those threads on the end of that, you can attach them to their fish tapes so you can actually like continue to use it, which I don't think I'm gonna use super often, but I like that I can. That part of it's cool. Last but not least, the Fisher Price fish tape of the year. This thing is sweet, okay? Again, I'm in service work, so one of the things that we do, obviously we try not to do live work all the time, but we do end up in boxes with other live stuff in there because we can't just shut everything off every time we need to get into a box. This is a fiberglass fish tape. The part number on this one, it's FTF 1125, but it is fiberglass, so that means that it's not conductive, which is super important. There's a couple things that make this much, much better than any other fish tape that I've used so far. This front portion, the handle doesn't move. It's not how you reel it up. You reel it up with this black thing back here in the back portion. So the front doesn't move, okay? So it pulls out very, very easily. When we reel it in, we just pull it back and it's done. The reason why I like that is because it's built to stand on, and I've seen them drive a car over it. I watched all the weight limit stuff. So no matter how big you are, you're not 8,000 pounds, I promise. If you are, you're not doing real electrical work. But I saw them drive a car over it. If you want to stand on this, you're good. Doesn't really matter how big you are. That makes it incredibly easy for you to actually pull out, which is significantly different. Most fish tapes suck and they're difficult and they get stuck and then you get irritated, and it's like 75 feet can feel like an eternity if your fish tape, especially if it's metal and it's not going well, it can feel like an eternity. Now, the other cool thing about this that makes it significantly different, you guys see the end here. There's also an end here on the back side. It comes out. That way, you do not just have to reel it back in, and that's how you get your wire. You can do it from either end. You can take it completely out and use it as a 100-foot rod if you want to. That is so useful, especially for you guys like me when you do random retrofitting stuff and you have to fish it through a wall and you don't have the cable on that side of the wall that you have to fish it from, because then you have to fish something else through and up and down and you have to keep going back and forth. I really, really like that you can pull it out and you can use either direction that you want to. There are threads on both ends of the fish tape, and the reason for that is inside of this little thing here, if we open up our Fisher Price toy here, there's a bunch of different heads. Now these heads are fantastic. They're gonna be everything that you need and more. They actually have some extra flexible heads. They have standard heads. They have large pulleys, small pulleys, all of the above. They have things that are better for pushing, things that are better for wire pulling. We like to see this. We like options. We like to be able to use that. This should be a standard, all right? This is so much easier to reel in. You can also access the back here. There is a pin in here and it comes out and you can open this up. Obviously, I'm not gonna open up a 100-foot fish tape down here in my little studio. You have the ability to, if there's ever an issue, if it's damaged, if it's stuck, if it's whatever, you can open it up and get to it just fine. Definitely one of the smoothest fish tapes, most effective, and the most just utility all in one package. It's kind of crazy. and it looks literally like a children's toy. Nerf is another one that I was told is said sometimes.